Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Positivity Project. My name is Joy Lee, and this is a passion project that I started with the goal of helping people who are, let's say, undergoing life's difficulties by learning from the experiences of some amazing people that I know and I meet. But for this episode, I am going to be deviating a little bit from my usual program. So kung in the past episodes, you see me interviewing people. Ngayon, I'm so excited to have my dear friend from high school, Percy Concepcion. And we're going to be talking about a topic that many of our friends or our ka-age natin can relate to, right? And this topic is adulting. Adulting. Thank you, Percy, for being here with me and for sharing your experiences with me.
Thank you so much for having me here. I guess there's this pressure when you mentioned earlier that you interview people that are amazing, and I don't know. I just feel like there's this pressure on my shoulder right now.
No, you're amazing.
Abo.
Kaya ka nandito. That's the reason. Okay, so Percy,
Hi, Coach.
Just to give our viewers a background of what's going to happen for the next 30 minutes or so. So we're going to be talking about adulthood or adulting. I divided, I chose 3 subtopics on this kasi very broad yung adulting, eh, diba? It's like a buong buhay natin. Mm-hmm. Pero I just chose 3 topics na very relatable at I think pinaka-importante para sa ating mga nandito sa stage na to. Those are finances, self-worth, and relationships. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the challenges and the life lessons that you learned along the way. And this is interesting because we're coming from different backgrounds, diba? You're single, right, married. I didn't say that one is higher than the other. I'm sure there are lots of challenges na meron yung single people versus the married people pertaining to this topic. Okay, so are you ready to begin?
Let's go!
Okay, so let's start about finances. Sige, Percy. Well, but before anything else pala, Percy, hindi pa kita na-introduce. Can you tell about yourself? I'm so sorry. Sobrang excited ako eh. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, so I'm Precious. A lot of people, when they hear my name, they immediately recall the movie Hi, Precious, and they just keep on saying that. At first, I felt like very odd for them to really do that, but then I got accustomed to it, so it felt like it's okay. They're just recalling something from a movie. All right, so I didn't know at the beginning whether I'd be offended. Like, what do they mean by that? Should I be offended? So I guess it's the labeling of what I feel was somehow difficult to I guess spell when I had that. So yeah, I'm Precious. I live in the where do I live? I live in Muntinlupa. Nakalimutan. I live in Muntinlupa. Let's see. I'm a teacher, an online tutor for Korean students. I teach English for, well, I guess, let's see, 2018, since 2018, and 19, 20, almost 2 years next month, yeah. What else? Yeah, I guess that's it. My friend here, Joy Lee, had been my friend since high school. By the way, if you don't know, we actually call each other Coach. Coffee table talk that we had. So yeah. So I guess it's really nice to have a friend who can tell you about stuff in a different perspective, and it's really nice to also share what we can learn from each other.
Right. Yeah, so I'm excited. Let's just dive in. Straight in na tayo sa finances. Sige. So Percy, tell us.
Let's go.
What have been your challenges with regard to managing your finances, and how did you deal with them?
Okay, that's a really good question. Thank you. So I guess let me start with my I guess financial background, my family status. I guess that's the best picture to move to where I am right now with my
Right.
finances. So I came to a humble family. I came from a humble family. So I really didn't want to go to college back then. So I stopped for a year simply because I thought that college is like a conspiracy or something. But then later on, I realized, I really have to study. I have to do something with my life. So I enrolled. But then again, I chose to finance myself. So I worked to this company. And then I moved to another company. So I finished my degree after 5 years. And to some, they would actually think that if you are a working student, they would find it's actually surprising for me to find other people to really be fascinated, and they I just feel like I felt adored somehow when I shared a story that I am a working student. But in my end, it felt like, this is the situation that I have at that moment. So parang we didn't have much money then. So parang it's like a no-brainer na I should do something about it. So I worked so that I can study. Um, and then after that, I worked. After I worked again. But then at that time, I already graduated. I got my job a week after the graduation. So I think it's really the connection with the previous internship that I had this really fluid transition to how I got the job. So it was a really good job. Actually, it was a really good paying job. And then I was earning a lot. And then since I was earning a lot back then, I chose to, like, I had so much money. What will I do with so much money? So I decided to go with enrolling myself to an insurance. So yeah, I think that's the basic stuff. One thing that I learned from one of the investors that I follow, he said that it's better to have something you don't need than to need something and you don't have it. So I think that's perspective. When I had though, I went, so I had this insurance na, and I've also been got to have a lot of, not naman a lot siguro, but I guess there's bills that you have to pay because you're an adult now. So
Yeah,
I
that.
had myself, into that space. Now, oh my gosh, I have due dates now. Now, before I wasn't thinking about those stuff. Um, so it was okay. I mean, I had a good job, so I was able to pay all of that. But then the thing that I missed though was the savings. So I didn't really paid much attention to savings back then. So I just splurged, traveled, all the stuff that adults and singles do when they're young and they had so much money. Um, so I did all of those, and then I switched to another job, and then that's where I learned to actually, I can actually save pala. And it's actually quite funny that I learned how to save when I had the least money. Not naman the least siguro, but when I have less than what I used to have.
Totoo yan,
And
totoo. Parang mas nakakatakot
diba, it's
spend kapag mas konti yung meron.
oo,
Totoo.
right, right, right. So parang it was quite ironic for me to have, say, um an emergency fund. I started having, what else, savings and all. So parang, this is how it feels pala. But this is how it feels to have this assets spread to different places, and then you'll just wait for them to earn you something. So I also started investing, and I think that's also a good thing about investing is that not the investing in stocks market, but investing in others' businesses. So I think that's one good way to help others, and also to invest on the money that you have that you don't really need, and you don't really use at all. So if there's any, like, say, people who are starting a business, a startup, maybe you can, try to help them out with their investment or with their business. In that way, you're helping others, and they're also, helping you in return. Yeah, I think that's basically the finance aspect, and I think it's also the discipline. What is very important with finance is that someone should have the discipline to um, have this partition on budget. Budgeting is something that's very difficult to handle, especially if everything's so new. You have this network you have to pay. You have a travel that you want to save for, you want to give something to another person, or maybe share to the family. So it's something that's I guess a discipline that is somehow hard to tame, but it's tameable, if that's even a word. So for those that are not, they don't think that they can have this partition, have budgets. It's actually possible. It's never too late to start. The best day. So if you have, say, 100 pesos in your pocket right now, or if you have, say, 5 pesos in your pocket right now, just maybe if you have these wallets or tiny purse that you can maybe divide your money, then you do it. But best not to put it in your wallet, actually, but to put it in the bank. At least the bank will grow it for you, and you don't have to worry about it getting lost. Not unless the bank closes. But I think there's a law about that too. But that's another discussion.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, the discipline, and also the idea of you have a life in the future. I mean, it's a matter of putting perspective. Like, you have to live your life right now, so you don't really want to be so frugal on spending for yourself in this present time. So spend, let's say that you feel so stressed and you feel like you want to reward yourself, just do it if your budget allows it. And think about the future as if the future is just tomorrow, which is literally tomorrow. So start today. I think that's the
Yeah.
best gift, the
Yeah,
best
I like
tip.
what you said about reward yourself if your budget allows it. Kasi minsan doon
Mm-hmm.
doon yung line, 'di ba, between wise spending and
Yeah.
unwise spending. Yun. So,
Right.
'di ba, kailangan everything should still be within the bounds of your capacity to pay, 'di ba? Kasi yun yung
True. True. That's true.
yung problem kapag you're spending more than you can afford. And that's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of the toughest lessons din na natutunan ko when I got married. Kasi napakaraming expenses na hindi namin in-expect na makakasalamuhan din. na makakasalamuhan.
Right.
You know, when you're just young and thinking about yourself, parang hindi ko expect na may ganyan palang klaseng expense. May mga bakuna expenses pala for the kids, may mga
Right.
ganyan. So hindi ko alam. Anyway, but that's one of the things that I learned then is to know the difference, to draw the line between wise pay, yung capacity mo to pay, and diba?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm curious though, because with jumping from one chapter of your life to another, there's, I think, a dramatic change in your spending, because you're not only spending for yourself anymore, but you're spending for one or two or even more if you have more kids. So parang how did you, like, put yourself in that transition na parang I spending myself, parang should I, like, I don't know, I cannot really put myself in that picture of transitioning, I guess. It's spending for so many people.
Yeah, it's really it was an adjustment. It's really an adjustment. Hindi ko alam kung paano ko nakayanan din pagdaanan yon. Pero I think all of us would go through that adjustment. Siyempre, from thinking just about yourself to biglang considering other people's lives, diba? One thing that has worked for us, we've tried lots and lots of budgeting tactics or strategies. Tapos ang dami rin hindi nag-work. So we
Oh.
just a trial and error thing that you have to do with your husband or with your wife. Tapos kung ano yung mag-work sa personality ninyo, kung ano yung mag-work sa
Mhm.
family ninyo, yun yung itry nyo. We've tried the envelope method, we tried the bank, yung maglalagay ka talaga sa iba't ibang bank accounts. We've tried the pencil and paper method, talagang susulat lahat. So we've tried a lot of things. And right now, ang pinaka nag-work sa amin is to have a Trello board. Just Trello. So every expenses namin nandun sa Trello board.
Fancy.
You can track it. At saka very handy kasi, so just our phones. So
That's true.
I think that's one thing that you can also you need to think about. You need to sit down with your spouse and discuss those kinds of things. Kasi kung hindi, magiging problema talaga.
Yeah, that's a nice perspective. I love it that you've tried a lot of methods, and it's actually quite helpful to find the best suitable method for you to work on something. I guess it's a trial and error thing based on your personality. You just gotta do it, or else you won't ever do it at all.
Yeah, totoo yan. And I think isa ring makakatulong, sa mga, in terms of the principles naman, I really agree with you that discipline really plays a big part. Kasi it will tell kung ano yung mangyayari sa expenses. Kung may income kayo, hindi mo siya mababudget ng maayos kung wala kayong proper discipline. Kasi
That's right.
Ang gusto natin sa mundo di ba? Ang dami nating gustong i-try, ang dami nating gustong puntahan. So if you don't have that principle, that discipline, it could ruin everything. Especially, ang pinaka nakakatakot dyan is ruin your relationships. Kaya ayokong pumunta kami doon.
Yeah, that's the most terrible. Yeah.
I know. Kaya it's really important to get a hold of your expenses, your finances, very wisely.
Yeah, I think self-control also plays a really good role in helping your finance. Like you really have to make sure you know yourself, and the more you know yourself, the more you'd be able to handle your.
Totoo yan. And speaking of knowing yourself, that's a really good segue, Percy, to the next topic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hindi mo alam, pero you did the segue already. So our next topic, actually, the second topic is about self-worth. And I think you're right. This is really connected with handling finances. But for this specific topic, I want to focus on one question, and you can tell me what your thoughts are, or you can ask me another question if you want. One of the things that I noticed kasi in our world today is for people not knowing when to be contented, right? It feels like we're always in a game of finding who has the best job or who has the highest net worth. I mean, how do you draw the line between being goal-oriented versus being greedy na parang hindi ka na talaga nako-content?
Yeah. All right. Well, let me try to say a story. So there's this person in the office that I had. I used to be in. So she said that she was a fan of this really famous artist, and this artist was like very young and very famous as well. So imagine that this person is very successful at a very young age, and then she said that I wish I'm that person because this person is this and that, and I wish I'm like that. So parang when I saw how she said it, it was like she wanted to really just switch the life that she had to this person that she was following. And then in my head, okay, that's actually just one perspective of the life of the person that she was seeing back then. So I thought you can post a lot of things, the media can post a lot of things about you, people can say a lot of things about you, but then it's just one part of everything that you are. It's not really, the whole part, the complete Joy Lee, the complete Precious. It's never like that. And I think it's a person is really deep in everything. So for you to get to know a person 100%, I think it's really impossible. But to show a part of your life is actually something that may influence others to, I guess, to do something with their life, to be inspired, or to hate themselves, or to hate you, or something like that. Um, but I guess the content lies in what you really value. Um, on what I've learned, especially in this pandemic, actually, I've thought a lot of things during this pandemic, although I've thought of them in the past as well, but it really magnifies a lot since I had so much time to think
Mhm.
about things during lockdown. That what we should always look at, at least just me, I look at the things that are, say, not really the it's good to have goals, but then after meeting the goal, what's next after that? So the goal could actually be something that's tangible. The goal could actually be something that you can attain. However, after that, what's going to be next? And I think having a plan having a plan on what you want to really have and really be okay with it is, I think, a challenge to everybody. um, there's this person that my brother shared to me. He had this book, and I'm not sure if I can quote books here, or
Oh,
brands or something.
go lang.
Okay. But yeah, there's this author, but I don't want to mention his name na lang, because I really didn't like how he wrote. But he actually made certain reasons. So he said that you try to look for things that are more of value than of things that, say, you can attain, and then that's it. Say, example, um, I I want to be I want to have $1 billion, $1 billion dollars. So I guess, so when you have that already, you have to make sure that you're prepared for what's ahead of you in attaining whatever that goal that you have. But then after achieving that, what's the goal after that? It's because it's a continuous journey. So if it's going to make you want more, then it would probably be this, like, a cycle, a never-ending cycle that could lead you to something that will make you very exhausted in the end, or that would make you feel empty in the end. So I guess it's really, say, what do you value? Do you value family? So spend time with the family. So I guess it's really, you have to set the tone on what you really value the most. What are the things that you would like to have in the long run? Because the earlier you identify those, but I know there are a lot of people that haven't really discovered what their priorities are at a late age, and I think that's really sad. But I think there's also an interesting twist into it, because it's the learning itself in discovering what your priorities are, makes you uh, what makes you, say, be interested about things, what makes you inspired to do things, the reasons to wake up in the morning. I think those are great values to have, so that we know that by the end of everything, even though did not achieve getting 1 million today, I've accomplished something. I gained patience. I gained, say, trust from my colleagues, or I learned something from my family, or I spent time with my dog, something like that. So it could be, I know these are minor things, but sometimes the simple things are the most valuable things. And I think it's really having an eye on the simple matters and simple things that that really makes us carry on, makes us sane. Because sometimes the more complex things are, the more difficult they are to handle. Although it's actually really good because it keeps you going. I mean, personally, it keeps me going if it's challenging. And but then there's also the extreme end of it, that it may exhaust you to the point of, say, fatigue or
I know.
death,
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
like in Japan, right?
Yeah. Para siyang ganun eh. Ang tawag doon, yung paganyan. So, if you reach to if you go to the farther right na, babalik ka na sa parang breakdown point. Diba? Or ano,
Right, right,
so parang ganun. So, dapat I think we just hit the optimum level of our success or whatever you define
right,
as something that makes you happy, right? If you remain at that
right,
optimum level, everything's happy, you're happy, you're not empty, your relationships are okay, your success is defined, diba? Parang mas okay pag nandun tayo. When you go through, pag kasi lumagpas ka pa rin doon and you feel like you still want some more, diba? Doon nagkakaroon ng problema madalas. And that's something that I've also seen people experience.
mm, mm-mm.
Yeah, kaya that's a lesson na pwede nating mabahagi sa mga people that are just entering adulthood, di ba? Something that they can
Right, right, right,
aware of, that too much of everything talaga is not healthy.
right. I think ano rin, there's there should be an understanding that there's this point that it's okay to remain ordinary. Not naman to remain, but to be ordinary. It's okay to have ordinary days. It's okay to have boring days. Because if you don't have those boring, lame, mundane days, then there wouldn't be any happy. Like, you wouldn't be able to identify with which day is actually of like exhilarating, or which days are exciting, which days are happy. So I think it's actually this mindset that it doesn't really have to be like what you said. It doesn't really have to be always happy all the time, because if everybody is happy, then nobody would be sad, and we would tend to always like shoot up the adrenaline to feel happy, and that's not sustainable. And I think I'm a person a person that rallies sustainability. That you should live first, and you try to make things work out for you to not really to survive, but to not merely survive, but to actually live the life that you're supposed to live, and not really interrupting so much of, say, the environment, so much of others, burden to others. So it's this ideal thing that I have in my head, although I think it's very far-fetched at this point in time, but I think it's very possible if people would just care.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a total sense talaga. If I love learning from you, Percy. Yeah, but I think it makes sense. Ang dami mo sinabi na hindi ko na alam kung anong uunahin kong i-respond to. In your personal life, this is a question I want to ask. What are the key principles that help you learn how to define success and how to be contented, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, success is actually different from each person's perspective. So you look at perspective, say you have this idea, it pops out into your head, and then you ask me, and then there's another perspective of it. And when you ask another person, we're all different basically. And if you would measure, the thing is that if we would measure ourselves in the measure of the other of other people, then we may end up being a loser, or we may end up a winner of that successful, depending on who it is that you're talking to. So I guess success. I'm really glad that I am surrounded. It is actually not. I'm not really that glad, but I am, I guess, surprised and amazed that I am actually surrounded by, I say, successful people based on how I see it, and I guess based on how others also see it at some point. That they really have this say belief system that really works for them, and it's really living out in those belief system. Say you are a person that believes, and you're not living contrary to your beliefs, and I think that's really something that that is unique to each of us. That each of us has their own belief system that works for them. So I guess you have to. Each person should have um, this standard of success, because if you don't put a standard to yourself on or define success on your own, others will dictate it to you. So say your mom will tell you, you have to be this, or maybe your boss will say you have to be this, or say your coach will tell you, you have to be this. And you see my point there, that other people finds it easy to impose um, things that they think are good for you, but you have to also have this time for yourself to assess and step back. Wait, do I really want to be like that, just like what you told me? Do I have the time for that? Is it really my interest? Is it really for the best, um, or is it really something that I can do, or what I want to do, I'm willing to do or willing to be? So I guess it's just really putting a definition. And if we are going to put that perspective, have that perspective, I think it would be more, I hope, more harmonious living with other people, because we would basically stop each telling people what to do with their lives. Although it's actually good to have coaches na, okay, I think you're doing the wrong thing here. It's okay. It's okay to take advices. Pieces of advice. It takes great wisdom to really heed those advice, and to really have this group of people who um, are really, I guess, grounded with the things that they already know by experience. And
Yeah.
frankly, if it's actually better that you learn the principles and apply it, it's going to be better. At least you don't have to experience the pain of going through something, right?
Sure.
Pero, we are people, we're human being. We like experiences and we like sharing stories. Kid, I did this in the past, so don't do that. So I guess that's for me the definition of success is that you just really have to make sure you know what success is and never compare yourself to others, because how they view success might be different from what's yours. So if you look at that in their perspective, then you would be a total loser, I guess, or
And I think
something
it will be
more.
really difficult to find happiness if you're basing your success on other people's success, or other people's standards, I should say.
Yeah,
It's gonna be hard
that's true.
makontento kung ganun na yung sistema mong nasimulan, is to compare yourself with others. Mahirap na siyang mahirap
Mhm.
siyang makuha, ganun. So yeah.
Right. Like people will say, a successful woman is a person who gets married, or a successful person is a person that has
So,
a good business, or a successful person is someone that is say has a lot of friends or something like that. It's all of these um, factors in the outside, but when you look at inside, it's just empty. So parang it's actually more hard to live if you live in the outside rather than having both. Like you live um, you live what your heart and what your mind and your reasons and your beliefs are aligning to, and hopefully harmonizing that to what's outside.
yeah, I think personally kasi ako nga, di ba nasabi ko nga rin sa ito na I feel successful when I have inner peace, di ba? When I'm at peace with
Right.
when I'm at peace with
That's
my
actually a luxury.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ayun. So,
Yun lang. It's a luxury.
I know, it's really hard to get that right now, di ba? Kaya, yun yung iniisip ko, paano kung yung mundo, iba yung pagtingin nila dun sa success na yun? Or maliit ng, paano kung ganito lang yung pagtingin nila sa inner peace na para sa akin ay super valuable? Di ba? It's gonna be
Right.
hard for me to be happy kung ganun yung sistema. Kaya dapat talaga, tama yung sinabi mo, defining success is really key. And putting, of course, the things that you value most and prioritizing them. I think that will define
Mm-hmm.
success other than putting other people's beliefs and other people's expectations, right?
Yeah. Well, what about you? What's your take on success?
Yeah, I'm very big kasi talaga on relationships. And we're gonna be talking about that soon. Pero yeah, I think success
Oh.
is having, like sinabi ko una, inner peace. Because that's your relationship with yourself. Having inner peace is having a good relationship with your mind, with your heart, with your soul. And the next, of course, is your relationship with others. So I'm really big on those things. So I think kapag okay ako sa mga bagay na yon, I feel that I'm being successful kahit na the world tells me otherwise. Yeah, that's my take on that.
Right. I think that's actually a great stand. Even if the world says otherwise, this is how I will define it, and I think that's really good. Na to really stand ground on what it is that you really believe. It takes boldness, I think.
I know. Kasi mahirap yun eh. Sometimes it could be really hard.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
talking about relationships per se, and this is, I think, the most exciting for me. Sige, what are your key lessons or what are, let's say, what are the toughest challenges with regard to this topic or other experiences that you have before or with friends na naging challenge talaga nila in terms of relationships, and how do you think, or how did you personally deal with them?
Mm. Let's see. Well, challenges in relationships. You mean relationships? Okay, I'll just put it in my own understanding, I guess. I guess the most challenging is having different grounds. I think that's the most difficult, I guess, to set the pace on how the relationship will go and how the relationship will thrive, or whether it will thrive or not. um, I guess it's really making sure communication is actually a part of it. That you have to really make sure that you understand each other, each other's side before making any rash reaction, because it's difficult to have self control when you are in that kind of temper. So yeah, I think I think it's really hard to have, not really hard, but I guess it's what's the word for it? I'm going to try to look for the best word, but I can't find it right now. But it's, I guess, trying to make sure that you voice out what you really mean to that person, and really um, able, or at least try to see if you can compromise or not. Because if you cannot compromise, or if you cannot agree on something or agree not to compromise, then it would set the pace on, okay, we should make a decision on it. And the longer that the decision is prolonged, the longer the issue will grow. And then it by the end of the relationship, I guess, or the end of the whatever it is, it will create more chaos. I told you it was like this, but then you didn't listen, and now we're here like 5 years. We're still the same issue. So I guess it's really being stuck in that not being able to work out what it is that needs to be worked out. Yeah. So how did I overcome, say, that kind of difficulty, not having the same, I think, how did you just choose, I guess I just chose to um say go or not go with understanding, furthering the relationship or not. But then it's not also just my decision, I guess, but it's also talking again, communication. It's also agreeing with that person that, hey, wake up, this is what's happening, these are the effects of what's happening, um, and how do we move forward. So if there's actually nothing to look forward, if there's a not like things are not agreeable, and conditions are not agreeable at the same time, I guess it's time to move forward. But then again, I still believe there will be this person or people, group of people who really knows your ground, who understands your ground, and you don't really have to compromise anything that you believe. You don't really have to change who you are, not unless you really have to, like say you have an addiction or something, or you have a bad habit, then I guess that's the exception. But all the rest, I think, uh, are essential to I mean essential for you to hear from others. Yeah, so I think that's it.
So you've been talking about the importance of communication, and this is also one thing that I realized. Kasi di ba, when we talk about communication, often um, uh, we just regard the talker, not the listener, di ba? So listening is actually a skill that I have learned. I should say I've learned the hard way in my relationship. Kasi I've always been the talker. Pero ayun, mahirap kapag mag-switch gears minsan, ikaw yung magiging listener. And it's something that you can work on, that I found out that's really possible as you improve your relationship. And I think it's just not, hindi lang naman to para sa mag-asawa or para sa mag-boyfriend romantic relationship. It can also really be used sa yung relationship with your family, relationship with your friends, diba? With your boss. Communication, talking and listening are really key to have a really good relationship, to establish trust and to have a really good relationship with those people, diba?
Mm. Well, you mentioned that you're always a talker, but when we met last time again, parang it felt like it's actually the contrary. I felt like you actually were able to meet the balance of talking and listening at the same time. So I'm kind of curious how you managed to be that way that you are, comparing it from how you said you were.
Yeah, it takes practice, Percy. Lots of practice. Sobra. I mean, okay, if there's an occasion na, okay, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Tapos, may mangyari ng misunderstanding. So, okay, so next time, I want to try to be a little on the listening side naman. So, parang ganun, step by step, you get to improve yourself. And I think one other thing that I've learned about keeping relationships healthy is really appreciating people for who they are, right? Kasi minsan meron tayong mga, ano ba, parang mga expectations sa ibang tao. So I've learned to crush those, to destroy yung mga lahat expectations sa yon, and just purely appreciate people for what they do, for what they say, for how they think, for how they discarte, how they decide on things. Lahat yon, if you just
Right.
appreciate yung efforts ng isang tao pagdating sa mga bagay na yun, certainly there will be times na I would never do that way. I would have never thought about that. Diba? Ganon. Pero if you learn how to appreciate it and you work around those things, mas magiging smooth yung relationship. That's something that I learned kasi iba talaga ang thought process ng mga lalaki para sa akin.
Yeah, well, living with, I guess, 4 men, yeah, I can attest to that.
Diba? Yeah, thank you so much, Percy, for your time, and thanks so much for
Thank you.
to deal with some technical difficulties. I just have one last question, and I think we'll end after that. What are your, let's say, key principles or the key lessons that you've learned from the time that you switched from a kid to an adult that has helped you or that have helped you survive this thing called adulting?
Let's see. What helped me to survive? I guess the reason why I'm living right now and surviving right now, despite the many things happening around, I guess it's transitioning from the kid and then to adulting. I guess it's really knowing my foundations. That I know that I have a God that sees me, looks after me, even all the people around me leave or everything else perish. I think that kind of confidence that I am being taken care of, no matter how miserable I am or chaotic life is. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be um, safe. I guess that's actually what helped me a lot. So that's one. I think that's the most important thing, to really acknowledge that there is a God in the life of Jesus, that that I am able to breathe right now, and despite everything that's going to happen in this life, and it's the same hope that I want to also have other people to have as well, that they may also find and see God. But on what I've learned, it's actually the more that you see God, the more that you don't seek Him, but it's actually the other way around, that God seeks you, that God finds you instead. So yeah. um, and besides that, I think it's also knowing having God in life, and also number two is that, knowing that you are a child of God, so that you'd know that, even if you think that you're poor, you're actually not poor, because there are people um, who have less than what you have right now. Say you don't have anything to buy milk and you already feel poor, but then there are people who can't even buy themselves lunch or 2 meals in a day. So it's really putting life in perspective, that you are actually more blessed than you are, than what you think, and you are actually smarter than what people think, what you think of yourself. So it's actually, this undermining the self. There are times that there are people that undermine themselves, and people who are also think of themselves more than what they ought to think. But I think it's finding the balance as well, finding the balance of how it is in reality and what your dreams are. Because parang there are times na, I want to be like this, and I dream to be something like this, and then you float in the air, and then reality strikes. Shucks, it's not like that pala. So it's actually kind of hurting to live in the expectation that's unrealistic. So I guess it's also being smart. I guess it's really being smart and really being grounded with what you think should keep you grounded, whatever it is. um, and also knowing that you are loved more than you ever think. Not a lot of people know that, I guess, but you are loved more than you can ever imagine.
Yeah, and sometimes kasi doon nagsistem yung bigger problems if you don't have that knowledge. If that's not
That's true.
planted in your heart na, uh, diba, you feel alone all the time, ganyan. Tapos lahat na ng problems doon naman. Yeah, those are really good things. I learned something about making SMART goals. SMART as in SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, uh, realistic, and time bound. So those things could really help you prepare for adulting, and it has really helped me to set SMART goals.
Yeah.
Diba kasi mas pag alam mo pag alam mo yung kalaban na haharapin mo, yung reality, and your goals are SMART, mas hindi ka prone to heartaches, mas hindi ka prone to looking at yourself less. Kaya I think that's one thing that can help people who are just facing adulthood.
That's true. That's true. Although I think those pains are still inevitable, and it's still a key important factor in living
Of
and
course.
being a human being, I
Of
guess.
course. I know.
Right.
Yeah.
But as much as possible, if you're a person who have experienced so much pain, you would advise the younger people who to try to experience less pain as much as they can, as much as possible. Never, but I guess it's a human nature
Yeah.
to
Of
really want
course.
to experience pain.
And it will help them grow din naman, 'di ba? Kaya we don't have to rob them of
True.
opportunity. Opportunity talaga 'yun. Kasi it's an opportunity to grow, 'di ba?
It is. It is.
To learn na okay, next time I will never do that, 'di ba? Parang gano'n. But yeah, I would
Yeah.
you kasi iniisip ko thinking about my sons. You know, I would want them to experience as the least pain possible. Kung ewan ko, that would be selfish for some, but yeah, I've been there. Why I want them to learn from my experience then to help them.
Mhm. Right, right. You know, I actually think to the contrary. Parang I imagine myself if I have, because I have a
Mm-hmm.
nephew, and
Mm-hmm.
the mother would say, would protect him rather. But then in my head, no, don't stop him from doing that. Like if it's going to make him say have these bruises or something, make him cry or
Oo.
something,
Oo.
let him be dirty or something. Like
Oo
it's
naman.
okay.
Yeah, pag ganung bagay, nako, wala akong problema doon. Ang sa akin yung bigger heartaches and pains, parang hindi ko kaya.
That part.
Fish ako on
That
that
part.
part pa. For now, but I think baka I would grow
Uh-uh.
out of it in the future kapag nandun na. Pero sa ngayon, yun yung
Mm.
nakita ko. I don't want them to experience those kinds of pain. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Percy, for this hour.
Thank you.
I adore you. You're just amazing. And thank you so much for having this.
Oh, you're amazing.
I learned so much from you and know that I am
Me
proud.
too, me too.
I admire you. My son is calling me. I admire you. You're amazing. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this awesome night. I miss
Bye. I
you.
miss you. See you soon. Bye.
E-hugs. Bye.